first of all, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to go line by line on this. What I'm going to do is pick some different drills that I use each week. What I generally try to do, and everybody's scenario situation is different. Generally what I do is, our situation in Wilmington is we have about an 8-week warm-up period before USPTA spring season starts. So what I generally do with our teams is I'll put together the game plan, what we need to work on, working off last year's stuff, and I'll put together an 8-week plan going forward. And this is pretty much what it looks like, and I give it out to all the teams, so that way, if for some reason at some point they say I want to work on this, and I'll try to work it in. So it makes it mutually effective for everybody. Because the pro puts the plan together doesn't mean the pro knows what he's doing. I don't know how all of you feel about this, but basically when I do clinics, we do very, very, very little instruction on technique. And that's the five of us. What we're doing in our clinics is working on strategies and focuses of what we're trying to do. My main focuses with my groups is, number one, we focus on singles lines. We play over half our points with the singles lines only. Anybody want to take a guess why? Because it stays in. Has anybody watched a lot of the pros doubles? Okay? If you watch the pros, you're looking at probably 75 to 80% of their shots are hitting inside the singles lines. If you ask one of your club players, well, the pros hit in the alley all the time. How many times have you heard that when you start talking about alleys? So the percentages are much higher than they're not. The other thing that we work on is middle, soft, or riddle. Now it has two meanings depending on where you are in the court. And what I mean by that is that if you're in trouble, always go to the middle. Obvious reason, lowest part of the net, biggest area to miss in. What it also means is if I'm at the baseline and we're going to have a one-up, one-back situation, I'm going for the middle of the other half of the court. So basically right here. Again, if I get nervous, I spray a ball, I've got a much wider missing area to go into. And the last piece is working on having a plan other than just getting the ball back into play. Now that's obviously a lot harder with the 2-5s and some of the 3-0 groups. So basically what I do is a lot of my drills I take, and they're basically structurally the same. I just make adaptations when I'm dealing with 4-0s and 3-5s. Okay, any questions so far? Perfect. So if you have any questions while I'm giving this presentation, please raise your hand. I'll stop and explain. So the first drill, can I get 4 hitters please? Right there. Now, this is a drill I like to do a lot because number one thing I find when club players get to the net is they want to do what? Excuse me? Who said that? Thank you. That's absolutely right. Once they cross this magical line, they think the point should end on the very next ball. Okay? What I do is I've got this line here, and I stole the terminology from pickleball, but basically we call it the kitchen. Okay? I don't want to see any of my people trying to win the point unless they're inside the kitchen. So basically I tell them, do your cooking in the kitchen. Okay? And otherwise, what we're trying to do is control the ball, control the court. Alright? So, yeah, you took the baseline. So basically with this drill, I'm starting at the service line. The other reason I do a lot of my volley drills, having my players start behind the service line, the reasons for that is most club players, when you get volley, I'm right here. Okay, but unfortunately they're making most of their first and second volleys somewhere between here and the front and the back half of the service box. So we spend a ton of time on those volleys. All right, so we're going to do just a drill, start you off. You have to hit 2 balls in a row before the point's in play. All right, so I feed to you, that's 1. You hit the next ball 2, then we keep the score. Caveat, everything has to be inside the single line. Okay, here we go. Good. Play it out. There you go. And we have a first pass for me. You alright? That's alright.
Now I know what your hip ball is.
Alright, so that was the one over there. And normally what we'll do with this drill is we'll play to 11. Alright, here you go. Ready? Alright, here we go. Okay, double 1. Forward. There you go. Got it, play it. Alright. So, just getting started, where are they hitting most of their first volleys? Right, so what we're trying to get them to do in this first volley is really get them to push the ball past the service line. So initially I didn't tell them what to do, okay, I let them start. So basically what I'm trying to get them to do with this drill is, especially with my more advanced 3, 5, and 4-0s, the ball doesn't count unless they get it past the service line. So that forces them to really push through the volleys. Alright, so it doesn't count this time unless you're through past the service line. 0, 1. Alright, we're at 0 again. Here we go, ready? Going. 1. Move. Take it first. Here we go. 4. Jump. 1, 2. Right, right. Alright, I know lights in your eyes. Sorry, sun. Alright, do one more. But this is basically how you take this drill from the 2-5-3-0 level, where I really don't care if they're getting that first volley past the service line, so we're getting comfortable hitting those deeper volleys to 3-5-4-0 and up. We want to really make sure they're pushing that ball past that service line to drive that ball through the court. Alright, one more time. Here we go. Ready? Good. 1. 0. Go. 1, 2, 3. And play. Now, the thing is, once you get those first 2, now let's start working on developing the point. Alright? So that's the next move up the chain that you're going to do is you're going to have them work on, as soon as they get those first 2, we're consistent with that. Now after we get those first 2, we're going to work on trying to develop the point within the singles line. There you go, one more time. 1. Good. Oh, there you go. Alright, so that would be a drill that we would work on for about 15 to 20 minutes. And because we go back and forth with both sides. Okay, because I try to keep my drill specific to about 20 minutes because they tend to get bored with the drills. I'm going to switch down to the next one, and that is quick volley drill. So we have all 4 at the net. Start the service line. Alright, so what I generally focus on here is the first question I ask them is, if you're getting the ball first, what's your main focus with the first volley?
Trying to get it at the feet.
Get the ball down. What's number 2?
Probably poking it.
Okay. Number 3? How about let's go to the middle? Yeah. Why are we trying to game behind the service line? Okay? And try to get man from out there and we can take that ball and put the volley down the middle. So again, these guys can really play, but your club players, generally, if you get them to make a dynamic move, the quality of the volley goes downhill quickly. So what you're doing is you're getting them to focus on what they're actually trying to do with the volley other than get it back in play. We've got 2 goals. First goal is to get the ball down. Second goal is to get the ball to the middle. What this does for this side is we get to work on defensive volleys. Okay? We don't work enough on defensive volleys because most of the time they're trying to put the ball away on everything. Alright, so we're going to do with this drill. I'm going about, I'm doing 11 and then we switch sides. So both groups get to do offensive and defensive volleys. So we'll just go to a quick game to play 7. Alright, so basically what I'm trying to get you to do is not move the point the first shot. Now you guys have to move it in. To the start, you guys move in like you normally would. Alright, ready? Here we go. Okay? 0-1. Thank you, Volley. 0-2. There you go. 3. Alright, good job. Let's get it down. 4. Good job. Perfect. I gave you one. One more. There you go. There you go. That's the beauty. There you go. So again, simple drill, getting them to focus on more important to get the ball down than get the ball through. What I notice, especially with my 3-5 to 2-5 ladies, is they get a ball that's up and it's crush time. What I try to explain to them is if they can drive that ball, even though it's a great volley and it's going to land right here, it's actually crossing the service line at their waist, which is not that tough of a volley to reflex to. Okay, so what I'm trying to get them to do is really focus on making their opponent have to make a dynamic move and a tough shot at the same time. Okay? Any questions for that? Alright, so next drill I'm going to go to is alright, so this is the next thing I start working on is isolation. Alright, so especially the 2-5s, it's not in 3-0s, this is not successful at first, but we go over it constantly. Why is isolation so important? You understand what I mean by isolation? A specific player, exactly. Why is that so important?
You want to find the easiest player. You just want to find, well, you don't want to fight fair. You want to take the other player out of the ball.
Correct. Now that's one reason. Okay? So there's two more behind that. Number one, how many players feel comfortable, club players feel comfortable hitting multiple balls in a row? You're looking at least most of my club players, what they're looking at is I want to get rid of this ball and get rid of the pressure off me as fast as possible. So I don't want to hit a bunch of balls. So my goal with this is getting the drill to work 3 balls on the volley side before we start the point. Okay, because what I want them to do is work on consistency and point play at the same time. And the last reason is we all talk about formations and alignment when we have teams at the net, correct? Well, if we're switching one side back and forth and we're not getting to the same person, that means that team that's in control of the point is constantly having to adjust the court to cover the court. So it's got 3 reasons. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's do this. You guys have offense the whole time. We have you guys jump on offense. You're over there. You guys come over here. So we'll start, let's do this. They're closer to the sideline, so we go 1 up, 1 back. You're up, you're back here. So you're up. You're up, sorry. You're 2 up on that side. All right, so you'll have control of the court. So basically, you're trying to hit 3 balls in a row over here to Dan, okay, before the ball's in play. All right, here we go, ready? Alright, so what we want you to do is do whatever you got to do to get the play. There you go, ready? That's all right, here we go. Ready? Go. Okay, so again, there's a situation we change the direction of the ball, we spin the point up. Okay, change the direction of the ball in this situation, we're speeding the point up. We want to keep that point at a slower pace as possible. So by hitting back again, the pace of the point stays slower. There you go. Yep. Here you go, a couple more and then we'll change it. Here you go. Good. Here we go. So, that was an awesome point, great job. Alright, so what I would do with this drill, if we're having a situation where we're having a little bit of trouble with the first volley, what I would go to is basically have them start moving up a little bit closer so we can still work on that concept of making that first volley, first three volleys, controlling it to a half. Alright, next drill I want to work on is serve and volley. Alright, so I start serve and volley, teaching my 2-5s to serve and volley. Why would we start working on serve and volley with 2-5 players?
Takes a long time to get better at it.
That's one. How many people have had their 2-5s, 3-0s come out to them and say, we're playing Betty and she gets hit this little short angle that I can't get to and my net person can't either. So the reason and what I call it is I don't even call it serve and volley. The reason I don't call it serve and volley is most of the club players I have, they watch the pros where they're making their first volley inside the service line and they think that's the concept, we got to get inside the service line. So they don't even worry about stopping, split step, it's getting inside the service line. What I call it is serve and stroll. Serve and stroll. Because what I want them to start learning how to do is make sure that they start giving them the concept of split step, okay? But getting to understand that when I have to hit a volley, I have to be under control, okay? And he just running to the net, taking my racket out, really isn't serve and volley. Okay, so when you come back here, I'll do this real quick. So basically what I try to do is get them to take 4 steps. Because the shot that she's going to get back is going to be at the level of 2-5 to 2-5. So they're not going to get overpowered. Okay? So I'm not worried about, or 3-0 to 3-0. So it really doesn't matter where I'm getting to. I'm just getting the idea of split step. Alright, so now I'm volley. And I just keep walking in under control. Okay? The idea is I want them to start to understand when you're moving, the only time you should be out of control is when you're absolutely diving after a ball. Everything else you should be trying to move under control. Alright, so we have you guys play the point out. Come, there you go. Come, there you go. Perfect. Middle, we had it. Alright, other side. Same thing, switch sides. Switch side, you took it, it's fine. Safe to say they volley better than my 2-5s. But this will give you a simple way of starting to teach serve and volley. Now, I teach this exactly the same way to my 4-0 players that are freight trains. Okay? I force them to stop when their opponent starts to swing. Because I'm trying to get them to start watching the shot as the ball's coming back to you. How many times have you had one of your club players say, well, I didn't watch that ball, so I missed the volley? Well, if they're watching the other person's racket and ball contact, so that's when they learn how to stop, they're watching the ball. All right, so next drill I want to go to is I want to do a quick coaching drill that I do, and this basically gets them to work on the movement without live ball feet. I'm sure everybody's got live ball drills that they do with poaching. This is the quick one I use. There. Right in the middle when you lift your plate up. Your plate up. Right there. Right there, good. You have all four of you on your screen. I know, Scott, you don't like using dots, but this just gives them a, I got to give them a reference point. All right, so basically the way this drill, we have one at the yellow dot, and we have everybody else by the green dot, please. So, I won't lie, this is the drill. I was fumbling around for a way to get my ladies to start to understand the movement of what happens when you poach, where you're supposed to go when you poach. And this is kind of what this drill came into. So number one, when you're poaching, you're going to break towards the spread dot poach. And you know you're a true dot. Alright? What we're trying to get the baseline person is to understand where they're going. Now I know a lot of times people teach that he poaches, that person should go all the way across the baseline. Well, I can teach you a little different. When he comes across the poaches, I want Dan going to the yellow dot. The reason I want Dan going to the yellow dot is because if he hits his poach as good as he should, if I get it past him, he's going to be dinking the ball short. I only want that person in a position where they can cover that short ball because he's not going to be able to reverse course and go back and get the ball. Alright, so the way this drill, we're going to go back into the red. So generally the way I run this drill, and we use cardio as well, for the same reason, is basically what I want you to do is this, the target. You're going to come across the post. When you see him move to the red dot, he's going to yellow. I'm going to give you an approach shot there. You're going to take that approach shot cross court, okay? Move up to the yellow dot. But Dan moves up to the second yellow dot and you go to the red dot. You're not going to get out of flow, okay? Here we go. Real quick. And go. Go. Dan takes the approach shot. Boom. It comes in. Good. Approach shot. Go to the yellow. There you go. Move. Come in. Hit the split. Go. Start your yellow, there you go, boom, get the yellow, and go. Let it go. Alright, next, here you go, right in the first step again. And you can take this and use it however it works for your group. Here you go, ready, go. Boom, approach shot. Here you go, split, go. Boom, approach shot. Boom, get your split, go. There you go. Alright, so there's one more piece that I add to this once I get them accustomed to doing this rotation and focused on poaching. Alright, so one up, Kenny, about that. So when I'm feeding your approach shot to the person coming up from the opposite side, I'm feeding a lob to the person that just cut across. The reason for that is I want them to focus on recovering, okay, off the poach. How many times do you see that person come across, they hit that poach and they can't get it. The next ball comes right back at them and they can't get it. So the overhead is to get them time to back up and be ready for that next ball. Alright, ready? So I'm going to do a poach first. You're going to slide over. You can give me your approach shot. You're going to get a lot. I'm going to boom, boom, boom. Go, go, turn around. Go, go, turn around. Flip, go, go. That's it. You're on the spot. And up. Stop. One more time. Down, boom. Touch up, sorry. Boom. And then boom. So, quick drill to get them to work on poaching. One more other, there's another poaching drill I do. Try to move it down real quick. Start out with it. Alright, so this is a drill I stole from Luke Jensen. Okay, and the drill is first ball is going to go down the line like I'm hitting that return down the line. You're going to hit the backhand volley. Okay, you're going to drive it right back at me. Right here. Because what you think I'm going to do the next ball. Go down the line, now you break on the very next ball. Okay? So it's a 2-ball drill into the line. Guys, go ahead and wait at the yellow dot right there so it moves fast. Ready? So it's 1, cover, 2. Good. Next person. 1, cover, 2. Boom. There you go. One more time. Go over to the line real quick. Easy one. There you go. Boom. Alright, last one. Cut. Cut. There you go. 2 poaching drills I do all the time with our players. Any questions? Alright, hold on 1 second. Alright, so next thing I'm going to get into is a couple different formations that we use. So I'm going to start with I formation. Alright, and first question that I always ask my players, 2-5 all the way up, is why would we use I formation?
Take away a shot.
What?
Take away a cross-court shot.
How many ladies do you see hit that little junky chip right here? They never miss it, but Betty can't get there in time. Alright, and Betty doesn't like to serve a volley, because we went that with them already, but that's my first bailout. Betty, why don't you serve a volley? I don't like to. Got it. So we're going to go to I formation. This is the way I teach it to my players. Yeah, choose over here real quick. Doesn't matter who's in. Alright, so you all know the young person's eye. You're going to get down like this and pop back up. I can honestly tell you, I personally am not, and most of my club players are not. Alright, the second version is how to do it. Okay? I don't teach that one easy. Does anybody know why I don't teach that? Okay, that's one. I'm a lot closer to the net, so I don't have reaction time. Anybody else? What's the #1 bailout for club players? Lob. Well, Lob's standing right here. Betty really doesn't have to hit that great old lob to get over my head. Plus, what does that do? This person's already broken this way off of that I formation, so they got to turn around and try to come back. You're asking this person to cover 75% of the court. So my I formation, the way I teach my club players, especially my seniors, they should go like this, straight up, and play it. Because now I can help them short ball. Lob's a tough one, and if they do rip it at me, I've got time to react. Now, does that take into play? I've got balls at my feet? Yes. But to me, me moving forward to cover that, it's a lot easier than me moving back for lobs. Questions? All right, so let's go ahead and try this formation. All right, there you go. All right, perfect. Other side, same thing. There you go. Alright, so he served 2 balls. What's one thing if you were working with this young man right here, we've been having a conversation about?
Serve sucks.
No.
Serve placement.
Serve placement. Okay? What are we trying to get them to do? Where do we want them to hit the ball? See what I'm saying? So if you can hit more up the middle here, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's work on serve placement. Over to the middle, see what happens. Okay.
Thought I did serve.
Okay? Bingo. All right, let's go to the other side.
Have you changed your targets when you go to this side as opposed to middle?
Yes. Here, right? Where are you going to go this time? Exactly. Because the reason for that is because when he gets that shot, you're not going to play a lot of ladies or guys that are going to run this line straight, right? They're going to hit the ball from the outside of the court, hopefully back into you, so that makes your coverage of the point why you're correct. Good. Yep. All right, good point. All right, so that's my eye formation. All right, you guys need to get drinking water or anything? You guys good? Okay. So the next one.
Question.
Yes.
Do you have your people play the eye much in the deuce court?
Yes.
A lot of
It's
people.
all, to me, it's not predicated on what side they're on or not on. It's predicated on what's that shot doing to me. So in other words, we're playing this court, and because most 3-5 to 2-5 players aren't going to have great direction control for serve. All right, some will, but most won't. So I don't want the server to have to focus in on trying to move the serve from inside to outside. I want them to be able to cut off what your opponent's doing to them. Okay? If Danny's hitting that low slice, I can't get to it. Okay? And I don't like to serve volley, then I need to go eye formation to stop that. Now, the other thing, the trend I see, at least in my area, is you have two types of players. The grip and rippers and the chip and lobbers. So generally, if they're laying that football down, okay, you're not going to be blasting balls by your opponent. Okay? If they can hit the lob, that's okay. So I'm not going to get overpowered by going to eye formation on either side. Any questions with that? Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, so the next one I'm going to go to is give you the option, you're playing, and they are lobbing the net man constantly off the serve. What's your first, what do you think first thing we should go to? Two back, exactly. My 2-5s play a ton of two back because they don't like moving back and forth. So go ahead and line up. You have two back. Serve two back. Dan, you go ahead and back up to 20. So what I do with this is generally I let them get accustomed to playing two back for a little while. So we'll play 2 or 3 points and two back, and then we'll move to the next part of this. Go ahead. You're not too bad, just this side. You're normal formation on that side. They can do whatever they want. That's what I'm saying. When you're too back, it doesn't matter. Okay. You can do it. Right now, just play two back. Coming to you. It doesn't matter. Here you go. Good. There you go. All right. So, question for you. Coming in, you've got control before you got control ball. Where was he at? Right. Okay, a little bit front, a little bit open. And the front. Right, so I want them to start understanding what's open when they're moving forward as well. We're constantly talking about is your opponent back at the baseline. Okay, the answer is yes. and why am I driving it back to them? Because you're coming forward and you're asking them to lock. Okay? If I'm moving forward and I see he's back at the baseline, I'm going to dump something short or stiff. Because what happens is while I'm moving forward, they're giving me time by having to run after the ball. Okay? Because I want to get time to get in position. Alright, so the next thing I do with this is then what I do is I have the server serve and stroll and his partner stay back. Okay, so let's go serve and stroll. Sorry. Okay, so if we're trying to serve and stroll, we're going to try to get 4 steps, right? Okay, let's try one more time. Okay, play it. Alright, that's alright. Good sides. Got them right where you want them. Absolutely. Got them all confused. Perfect. Alright, keep going, keep going, keep going. There you go. Trainer! Alright, there you go. Alright, so the next version of this would be switch it up. Server stays back, partner serves and strolls. Okay? So let's play 2 points that way. Alright? She's strolling, you're staying back. We're just giving them different looks. Okay? Generally, when I have somebody having trouble with serving, I'll throw the serve in for them. Good. Okay. So, a question I would ask you: you came in and served and stroll. Is that something you should have taken care of? I'm thinking about 2-5 and 3-5. So that's why I'm having that conversation. Yes, she can do that. But your 2-5s and 3-5s should not do. What you should be looking for is if that first ball is down, okay, you should be looking to come up. Okay? So switch sides.
Dang LED lights.
It is, isn't it? Stroll. Okay, you play it back. That's right. Alright, so, and the last version of this, I do both serve and stroll at the same time. Again, all I'm trying to do is constantly give them different looks. Because if I have to play 2 back, I don't want them to get set in the same pattern. I tip it here. I want them to constantly be thinking of different things. Nope. Good. Okay, and the hospital visit. Alright, so those are those versions. Alright, so the last strategy piece that I use with my guys is I call it the funky formation. Alright, generally I use this for the righties. So in other words, I'm the net player. I'm the focus of how I do this. So I'm right-handed, so my dominant side is going to be going this way. So all I do is serve basically from the double line. I don't care if he knows that I'm going to get this ball out of line. I want the serve going out wide. I want the serve and stroll behind. Basically what I'm trying to do is set the point up where if I hit my serve well, I'm going to get what I want, which is a forehand volley, and I'm going to put it right between the two of them. Much better. We might have won that point outright. But, so what I'm trying to do is set up another situation that's positive because I'm giving each one of them a task. Serve and stroll, but I have to serve out wide. Even if I don't get it out wide, I'm still serving and strolling. Even if he doesn't get it out wide, I got a ball. After this time, hit it wherever you want. So I'm I don't have to cut all the way over, but If they go in behind me, I've got this person coming in covering that side. So I don't have to worry about anything behind me. If they hit a great shot, he's got the middle cover. If they hit the angle, God bless him. Because my job is to get that ball out wide. Any questions about that? And I do have 2.5s using this, by the way. Okay, 2.5s, 3.0s, all the time. Now, where I get them to use it, obviously, is A, in practice first. They're playing their social sets. And B, I set them up in a situation that's not pressure first. When I tell them they're going to use one, I want them to use it in a match. You're up 40 love, and you've got a throwaway going. Try it here. It's amazing. The first time they have success with it, they forget about the failures, but they remember how that works. Because they're going to fail a little bit, because sometimes what happens is they get that duck, and they plant it in the back of the fence. But having said that, they start to use it. And with all these three different formations I've got, what I'm trying to get my club players starting at 2-5 and 2 is think. How many times has your students come off and said, well, we played great, but we lost? And then you start asking questions, well, what was the other team doing? Well, what did you do to offset that? Well, nothing. I mean, I've gotten that answer a ton. I don't know about y'all, but that's an answer I get a lot of times. Well, that's why we work on these different strategies on a consistent basis. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on overheads. Because ladies do not like to work on overheads. At least my 2.5s to 3.5 ladies do not like overheads. So what I try to do with this drill is make it simple and fun right off the bat. So all we're trying to do is just go check that. First line fun. Okay? I'm going to teach you live. If you're working on single lines, and aiming for the service line of the overhead. Okay? You're in, sister. All right, all you guys are doing is knocking the ball up. Let him get loosened up. Not that Dan needs any loosening up. If he's any more limber, we call it jumping. Here you go. Ready? There you go. All right, so you are not allowed to ask any more questions. There you go. Okay. Ready? Coming to you. Here we go. Okay. So let's work on hitting. You guys have to help them get 4 lobs to 2 in a row. Okay. So you're working with them as a team. Here you go. Ready? 1, 2. 3, 4. Okay, stop for a second. 1 overhead out of 5 we have the service line. Why is that? I'm asking you to.
We have to make it cooperative. Yeah.
All right, so the last overhead you made cooperative, but you got to pass the service line. So that's what you want to have that conversation about. If they can do it, but we're not counting. That's what you got to focus in on is they. We're doing this next one. Don't make the forward the important part. Don't try to get into the back half of the spot. Okay? Here you go. Alright, I'd much rather you miss it out. Nice. If I shoot 5 ladies move like that, I'd never lose the state championship. Up. There you go. Alright. So that's the overhead drill. The overhead drill we do a lot. So what we do after this caveat is I'll feed the first ball up. You guys hit the overhead, and then we play the point out. Ready? Here we go. Here you go. Ready? You can do whatever you want on this side. Whatever you want. Here you go. So you stretch it out wide, and you keep the ball low. Okay, so this is One of the things that I would start talking to my players about is I have what I call the 3 windows. Okay? Window number 1, okay, generally gives you where you hit your attacking shots. Window number 2 is our consistency, and window number 3 is our defensive plays. So if I'm stretched out wide and I'm trying to play into level number 1, I'm not giving myself a high percentage play to stay the point. I don't care if we win the point, I just don't want to give points away. I want them to have to win every single point. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right, ready? Couple more. Here we go. All right, so were you in that time? Were you in position to tackle?
On the lock?
On the first side. Okay, so don't want to get locked into this lobby either. What you want to do is start defining when I'm understanding when I'm back to full support when I'm done. Okay? Here you go, couple more. Okay. Good. Yep. Alright, good point. Alright, so obviously again, this is a drill, 2 5s and 3 0s and 3 5s we do easily. You just have to keep tweaking with it to make it fit which group you're in. Now what I do a lot of times with my 4 0 and 4 5 ladies is I'll have, when I feed the ball and I got the 2 up, I'll bring them back into the 60-foot zone. That way they get to work on the reflex skills. Alright, last thing I want to work on, drill I'm going to show you real quick, is working on covering lobs. Alright, so let me have you 2 jump over there. I'm going to go over here first. So generally when I work on this drill, it's covering lobs, because what happens is if I have a 2-up situation, they instantly want to run back and let the ball bounce. Well, not every overhead I have to do that with. So what I start working on them with is trying to cut this ball out of the air on an aggressive angle. Now the goal for you is when you hit this lob and you cut it, you're going to bring it straight back down the line and get back up on top of the service line. Okay? Once you take yours, you're going to drop back to the other side of the tee. Alright? Here we go. Ready? And go. Yours. My direction, come forward.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so you're covering the lob.
I got it. Okay.
And you're coming straight back down the line.
Oh, yeah, I thought you did. Okay.
No, you don't know what you did. Here we go. Ready, my bad. Here you go. Drop yours. Alright, now, question for you. You just hit a really good overhead, but you hit it that cross court, and you got the game hold of it. That's why I want to let you come right back down the line, because you're close, 2 5, 3 0, you can hit that shot, we're in serious trouble. You bring that shot right back down the line, look at the blue dot, blue line, try it again. Ready? Blue line go, get down the line, then go back in, through, that's ball, now you're going to go back in, overhead, back in, here we go, in, and up, and over top. Okay, so I'll do a rotation of 3 or 4 like this, and then rotate the teams out. The main priority I'm trying to get with this is 2 things. Number 1, recognizing when they need to let this ball drop. Alright, not just assuming every ball has to hit the ground when I hit a lob. 2, giving you a direction where we need to take the ball and why. So that way we're covering 4. Alright? Same thing on the back end. Let me switch you guys out. Then you want you to jump on top of that. Over here, on the outside. Alright? Ready? Over top. Go. Then go back in. That's it. Okay, you're closing in. When you're on the offside, I want you to stay back because you're responsible for coming off. Alright, good go. Try again. You got no loud this time? No. There it is. One up. Then you're going to drop back about 2 steps. There you go, ready? Alright, back in loud, go. Good. Come back in, there you go. Alright, go. Alright, so when you're breaking back, you should drop back to third throw, other side of the pitch. Remember, you're thinking like somebody who plays really well. If I pressure this person on this side at 2-5, 3-5 level, the next thing that's going to happen is this. Okay? So, that's what I want you to do. So think like that 2-5, 3-5 player. Ready? Here you go. Ready? And go. Back. There you go. Back in. There you go. Okay? Keep coming back up. Perfect. Now you can cover. Go. Back in. Go. Come on. That's up. That's up. All right. Any questions about that drill? All right. So I've gone through a bunch of different drills, different segments of what, how I set up my weeks. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take, especially during the season, is I'll take drills from week 1, week 2, week 3, and put it together in a lesson plan. So this is basically, this lesson plan is something that I would do 8 weeks out from my USPTA week starting. After it starts and we're running clinics, I'm going to mix and match out of this group, kind of like I did today, how I would run the lesson for that week. And what I try to do is take the players' information and match the drills with that ahead of time and have the sheets to hand out to them because they've gone through just about every drill we were going to do during the season, okay, prior to. Any questions? Generally what I'll do, that's a great question, believe it or not, in reflexes, what I do is I'll drop down to, depending on what their comfort level is, I'll drop down to orange balls and do quick volley drills starting right here. Because I want them to, the reaction time is getting used to being closer, but I don't want them to worry about getting hit, especially the ladies. Guys generally don't care. But dealing with ladies, I'll drop, when we do quick volley drills, like a lot of times with the 2-5 ladies that aren't comfortable, and I know if they have a comfort level, then we'll do quick volley drill with either green dot or orange dot, depending on the level of their comfort. That's not only is it great for kids, it's great for adults. Getting them in comfort zones. If you have, like for example, I'll use the green dot balls or the orange dot balls, depending on the situation, but if you're trying to get that player to drive through the ball, and they're afraid with the yellow dot to put flying into the fence, use either one of those balls to get them to start driving through the ball, the shot, so that way they get the comfort zone of trying to follow through. So I hope that answers your question, but I use a lot of different balls depending on what I'm trying to accomplish.